Near soft green hills and beside a quiet flowing stream, there was a small, peaceful village. The air there always felt fresh. The trees moved gently with the wind, and birds sang every morning as the sun slowly rose above the hills. At the edge of that village stood a tiny old house made of clay and wood. The roof was a little worn, the fence leaned slightly to one side, and small plants grew all around the yard. It was not a grand house, but it felt warm and full of life. In that little house lived an old woman everyone lovingly called Nani. Nani was gentle, calm, and kind to every person she met. Her face was full of wrinkles that showed the long journey of her life, but her eyes always carried warmth and peace. When she smiled, it felt as if the whole place became brighter. Many years earlier, Nani had a family. She once had a husband who loved her deeply, but time took him away. They never had children of their own, and after her husband passed away, Nani continued living alone in the same small home. Yet strangely, she never felt truly lonely, because Nani had a little companion, a small white duck named Lulu. Lulu was not an ordinary duck in Nani's eyes. She was family. Her feathers were clean and white, her small orange beak shined in the sunlight, and her bright little eyes were always curious about the world. Wherever Nani went, Lulu followed her with quick tiny steps, making soft quacking sounds, as if she was having a conversation. Every morning the village would see the same sweet scene, Nani walking slowly with a wooden stick, and Lulu proudly walking beside her. Children would point and smile, shopkeepers would greet them, and Nani would always respond with a gentle wave and a warm smile. Life in the village moved slowly, and Nani liked it that way. Every morning before the sun fully rose, the sky would turn soft shades of orange and pink. The cool air carried the smell of wet soil and leaves. At that time, Lulu would walk to a small shed beside the house and quietly lay a single egg. Nani always waited patiently. She would step outside, stretch her back slowly, and walk toward the shed. There she would find the warm egg resting in the straw. She always picked it up carefully, holding it in her old hands as if it were something precious. Then she would smile and say softly, "Thank you, my dear. One is enough for us." That one egg was part of her simple daily life. Nani would cook it over a small fire. She would eat half in the morning and save the other half for the evening. Along with that, she had vegetables from her garden, a little bread, and sometimes fruit from the trees growing near her house. Her garden was small but full of care. Tomatoes grew along the fence. Green chilies hung from thin plants. A few pumpkin vines slowly spread across the soil. Behind the house stood 2 mango trees and 1 guava tree that gave shade during hot afternoons. Nani spent many hours there, watering the plants, removing weeds, and talking softly to Lulu while she worked. Too many people, her life might have looked poor, but inside, Nani felt peaceful. She had food, a roof, fresh air, and Lulu, and for her, that was enough. One morning, however, something unusual happened. The sky looked the same, the breeze felt the same, the birds sang like always. But when Nani went to the shed, she stopped in surprise. There were 2 eggs instead of 1. Nani blinked slowly and looked again. "Yes, 2 eggs," she whispered with a soft laugh. Lulu stood nearby, tilting her head proudly. Nani picked them up carefully. "Well, that is very kind of you," she said. That day she cooked 1 egg for herself, just like always, but the second egg gave her an idea. Later that morning, she walked slowly toward the village market with Lulu following her as usual. The market was small but lively. People sold vegetables, grains, spices, and handmade goods. Nani went to a shopkeeper she knew and offered the egg. She did not ask for much money, only enough to buy a little rice and a small piece of jaggery. The shopkeeper happily agreed. That evening, Nani returned home, cooked a warm meal, and thanked Lulu again. The next morning, something surprising happened again. Lulu laid 2 eggs, and the morning after that, 2 eggs again. Days passed, and it continued. Every single morning, Lulu laid 2 eggs. Soon people in the village began to notice, "Nani is selling eggs now." Someone said, "She must be earning a little extra." Another person guessed. Neighbors began asking questions. One man laughed and said, "Nani, if you feed Lulu more, maybe she will give 3 eggs." Another said, "You should sell both eggs every day." Someone else suggested, "Why stop there? Buy more ducks. You could earn a lot of money." The villagers were excited about the idea, but Nani simply smiled. She always gave the same gentle reply, "1 egg for me and 1 for others. That is enough." And she truly meant it. Sometimes she sold an egg and bought a little rice. Sometimes she gave the egg to a poor family. Sometimes she handed it quietly to children walking home from school. Once a neighbor opened her door in the morning and found an egg placed silently outside. No note, no name, but everyone knew it was from Nani. Slowly, the village began calling her something new, Egg Nani, and they said it with affection. Children especially loved her. Whenever they saw her walking down the road, they ran toward her. Noni, Noni, is Lulu with you today? Lulu would quack loudly as if answering them. Noni would laugh. Some days she told them little stories. Other days she gave them fruit from her trees. Life continued peacefully like this for a long time. Then one year the rainy season arrived, stronger than anyone expected. Dark clouds covered the sky for days. Heavy rain fell again and again. The small stream near the village began to grow wider. Water spread into the fields. Farmers watched helplessly as crops slowly drowned. Paths turned into mud. Food became harder to find. Many families began to worry. The market grew quieter. Some homes had very little left to eat. But every single morning Lulu still laid 2 eggs. Just like always, Nani noticed the trouble around her village, so she began saving more carefully. Some eggs she boiled and stored. Some she shared immediately. If she heard that a family had nothing for dinner, she walked there slowly with Lulu beside her. If children looked hungry, she gently placed food in their hands. She never asked for payment. She never asked for praise. Helping others simply felt natural to her. Weeks passed and the rain continued. One evening, a few villagers came to visit Nani. They sat inside her small house while the rain tapped softly on the roof. One of them spoke with curiosity. "Nani, may we ask you something?" Nani smiled kindly. "Of course." The man looked around at her simple home. "You had a chance to earn a lot of money. Lulu gives 2 eggs every day. You could have sold them for months, maybe even bought more ducks." Another person nodded. "Yes, you could have saved much more for yourself." Someone finally asked the question directly. "Why didn't you try to earn more?" For a moment, Nani remained quiet. She looked toward Lulu, who was resting peacefully near her feet. Then she looked back at the villagers. Her voice was soft, but every word was clear. Because happiness does not grow from taking more and more. The room became very quiet. The rain continued outside. Nani continued speaking slowly. "If we spend our lives only collecting things, our hearts never feel full. There will always be something else we want." The villagers listened carefully. "I kept what I needed," Nani said, "and the rest belonged to those who needed it more." One woman looked down, thinking about her words. Nani smiled gently. "We forget something very simple," she continued. "When we share, the world becomes lighter. When we help someone, our own hearts become peaceful." At that moment, Lulu made a soft quack and moved closer to Nani. Everyone in the room smiled. It almost looked like Lulu agreed with every word. The rain slowly became lighter outside. The villagers sat quietly, thinking about what Nani had said. Some of them realized something important that night. They had spent so much time worrying about gaining more that they had forgotten the value of enough. Nani never became rich in money. Her house never became bigger. Her clothes remained simple. But something else about her life became very rich. The love of the village. People respected her. Children trusted her. Neighbors cared for her. And whenever someone spoke about kindness, they remembered Egg Nani and her little duck Lulu. Years later, people in the village still told her story. Not because of the eggs, not because of the duck, but because of the lesson hidden in her quiet life. Real wealth does not live in coins or markets. It lives in a thankful heart. It lives in sharing. It lives in caring about others. And sometimes, the happiest person in the village is simply an old woman in a small house, walking slowly beside a little white duck.